Old Dave, thank you for supporting the show, Old Dave. Shave your knuckles for justice. What do you think about NFAC marching on the Confederate Memorial? Seems like news to me, but only have seen the story from one source. Yeah, we've talked about that before. It was really interesting. So, Ron, love to give your take on that. So, NFAC, which is a armed black militia, and they marched on Stone Mountain, Georgia on the 4th of July, basically to say, we have the Second Amendment too. Mm-hmm. And they're very much like, I started following the guy on Instagram who's like, gives these sort of sermons every day. And you know, he says some pretty powerful stuff. He says stuff like, hey man, I'm tired of seeing like, you know, black guys go to the Black Lives Matter protest and then go back to the street corner and deal drugs and poison our community. And he's like, I know people need to make money, but we got to, you know, he's like, we need to respect each other. Or they say like black love, and men need to really respect women and all this. He says that he's doing a lot of like holding the black community accountable for stuff. And then he's also like, we gotta, you know, we're taking guns right into the middle of Confederate Georgia country. And look, I get it, man. They're lynching black men in America in 2020. And if I was a black man, I would own a gun. I mean, I'm not a big gun proponent. I don't ever want to own a gun, but I get it, man. And
yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's where it gets, you know, I mean, yeah, that's where it gets kind of dicey. I mean, because some of the like when it comes to the gun issue, especially because I mean, some of the most elaborate conversations I've had just around guns have been with some Native Americans, where, you know, like my buddy Cody was telling me, he's like, look, man, here's the thing, like on like the reservation I grew up on, and a lot of these reservations, like we can't rely on, you know, the law and order that, you know, is around. We don't know. I mean, if they send the wrong cop who's looking for trouble and we can't defend ourselves, we don't know what could happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as far as is that gentleman and that, yeah, I mean, I saw some of the footage from the march. That's all I've seen, but yeah.
No, I feel the same way. Like if I was a black man living in, you know, a black community where the cops were just doing whatever they wanted and shooting on people in the back and unarmed people, I would be like, sorry, we got to provide our own security. I would say that. I can't fault them. And it's really like, okay, all you like Second Amendment, you know, red state conservatives, every time there's a mass shooting and people like myself go, oh, we need gun control. You go, oh, slippery slope. Okay. Are you cool with this? Are you cool with a bunch of black people with guns marching? Are you okay with that? Because I'm like, all right, if this is what you mean by the Second Amendment, then okay, I guess I'm on board with it. Like, it's weird. I haven't heard the NRA. Are they really supporting this group? It really kind of, it does several things. It shows like these communities of color, like you said, the Native American community, they don't feel safe, and I can't blame them. And then it's going to call out the hypocrisy of the white conservative Second Amendment crowd. That's like, this is my right. Okay. Because it's like, this happened in the 60s. Look, when Ronald Reagan was governor of the state of California, they were like, yeah, he was a big Second Amendment guy. And the Black Panthers marched on Sacramento with guns.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we need gun control. Like, oh, okay. All right. Now we need gun control. Interesting. So, I mean, I get it. I understand. If I was in that situation, I would, if I was a black man, I would at the very least be like, well, I support what they're doing. It makes me worry just as a person that's been to war zones. I've seen what war really looks like. And if all these like militias start fighting with each other, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be awful. And I don't think Americans who are all like gun ho for some kind of civil war, America has not had a war on its soil in, 160 years. So,
oh, geez.
It's awful. Yeah, it's horrific. War is horrific. It's dehumanizing. And
this also goes into, just the concept of police, where it's like, yeah, this is not something that can be reformed, quote unquote, because this is completely failed on every level. here you have an institution that it definitionally is supposed to, quote, serve and protect. Meanwhile, they're increasing the need for people who feel like they have to have a firearm. They're not scared of their neighbors. They're scared of cops.
Yep. And they're scared of white nationalists with guns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, I part of me is like, any white person that's like upset by this NFAC, I'm like, well, this is what you get for decades of people screaming for police reforms. This is what you get when you know, public schools in black neighborhoods get around 50% less funding. This is what you get when you just abandon a community and tell them, sorry, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And when drugs are funneled into that community and all this other shit. And then you just want to do like window dressing identity politics and oh, we promoted a black woman's in charge of the police department. No, the whole police department's broken. The way we police is broken. This is what happens when you have a for-profit prison system. This is when you still have the 13th Amendment on the books. You know, this is what happens. And so it's like, this is a reaction to decades, if not centuries, of this treatment of black people in this country. So that's what you get, man. And, you know, you want to hang 6 black men in trees in the same week and say it was all suicide? Give me a fucking break, man. This is what you get. You add up the black community, you add up all the people in the white community like us that are not, I'm not a white nationalist. I fuck them. And that you get down to the like handful of like Second Amendment crazy Trumper white nationalists. There's not a lot of them. I mean, the protesting in every city in all 50 states and 18 countries around the world versus the half a dozen state capitals where some Second Amendment, you know, Trumpers were mad they couldn't get a haircut. You see the numbers, the disparity, and it's like, you know.
Well, and you also see who the cops are friendly to.
Yeah.
And that's very telling too.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
The right-wing militia in New Mexico was referred to as armed friendlies.
Armed friendlies.
You can hear the radio, you know, the footage of it. They're armed friendlies.
Armed friendlies. And that's New Mexico. We've seen this in Salem, Oregon, from backyard politics. We've seen this all over the country because white nationalists are in the police departments, or at the very least, they're sympathetic to people like the Proud Boys. And,
well, and it's both. I mean, there are straight up KKK members and white nationalists in the police department. There's no doubt about that. But there's also, you know, people that, they're sympathetic to that.
This is what happens when you let white nationalists get inside your police and governments. This is what happens when you, when 99% of cops that kill people aren't even charged, let alone sentenced. When all these cops that killed unarmed black people were never even sent, they weren't even charged. They were all acquitted. Like, this is what you get. So but I hope people on any and all sides realize that if you really want to ramp into some sort of violent revolution overthrow, it ain't going to be, it's going to be hell on earth. And it's going to be awful. And everybody gets hurt in a war. I'm here to tell you, everybody gets hurt in a war. So if you're ready to go to that, you're going to lose friends and family members. You're going to see awful things. You're going to have to do awful things. You're going to do things that are going to dehumanize you. And if you're going to either be confronted with the fact that you actually liked it, which says, oh God, you're a sociopath, or you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. I mean, I've seen interviews with World War II veterans who had the most, justifiable, but it was horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, that generation came back. That's how heroin blew up in the late 40s and 50s, because all these World War II vets were hooked on morphine from injuries over there and came back and kept using heroin. So we have 22 vets a day that commit suicide. So if we have all these citizen militias of all different ethnicities and backgrounds killing each other, we're going to have a whole country full of PTSD. We're going to have innocent casualties. We're going to have a lot of horrifying shit, man. I hope everybody really realizes this. I've been to Afghanistan. I've been to Iraq. It is not pretty. And you have not experienced that if you've never been to a war zone and you've lived your whole life in this country. You have no idea what it is. And I'm here to tell you, you have no idea what it is. So
I take your word that it sucks.
Yeah.
I've not been to I've not been there myself. But yeah, I'm on board. It is definitely not something we want.
Nope. It's not. So you better fix things. You better fix shit or it's going to get ugly.
War zones suck. Don't be a dick. That's the big message.
That's
here
the takeaway.
United States.
Don't be a dick.
Just don't be a dick.
War zones are horrible.
They're not fun. You don't want that. Don't be a dick.
Share and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.